Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to a new edition of the Ramon Foster Show. I am your fill-in host for DK, Eddie Provident. With me is the man who the show's named after, Ramon Foster. Ramon, it's cut day, and we didn't cut DK, but it is cut day, so I don't know how to take that, man. What do you think?
He mess around and get cut playing around with us, man, if he don't continue to show up like that. But nah, big man got work he got to do in other cities.
Yes, sir.
So I guess we're man.
Out in Milwaukee, hanging out with the Buccos. We're brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market, always serving up hot, fresh food 24/7. Moan, it is cut day, though, for the Steelers, and that's kind of what we got to talk about today. The two that surprised me the most were John LeGlue and Henry Mondeau. I know you had said off air you were pretty surprised by both Davis brothers. What do you think about these cuts, man?
Man, I think everybody saw it and just were saying, "Oh, okay, well, I get that one." Mondo situation, I guess when you go get Leal, the rookie, that kind of upseats him, and Buddy Johnson kind of shocked me a little bit too, considering his position last year, like. That was a fourth-round draft pick, man, and then he's out, and of course, like I said, Carlos and Khalil Davis, like I expected one of them to stick around, and I didn't expect both. Again, I joked the second, I was like, oh well, 73 is open again, but aside from that, man, I guess they feel good with everybody coming back. Of course. Larry Ogunjobi playing in the last game. You also get Tyson back. You got Leal also in the lineup. And I know Cam doesn't leave the field. So that position in general is probably pretty much sold up for the most part. So again, you're right about that. LeGlue, did not see him being a guy that was going to get let go. I wasn't on that train, didn't expect it, couldn't say I expected it or anything, man. No, a little shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, what was it, 2 weeks ago, I remember you and DK talking about him having his name in the hat for a starting position or like that backup kind of waiting for somebody to mess up position. And that one was, I think, the one that took me by surprise the most.
Right. Me too, man. And I guess they feel well about, Trent Scott as of right now, still on the team. They have the two tackles also in Joe Haig. J.C. Hausner is also another guy to me that may have upseated LeGlue just because I know J.C. can play guard. I know J.C. can also play center and has played center too. J.C. is just a work pill type of dude that's continuing to show up year in and year out, man. He, a Doug Legursky type, a guy that's very serviceable, man, that plays well when you ask him to. And again, was not really expecting that one, but I get it. It also lends me to say the roster may not be complete. I don't know if they go out and find another offensive lineman somewhere too. Yeah,
I'm with you. They already added. We're getting to the defensive side of the ball here, but they already added Malik Reed today, and I think that's pending a physical and everything, so it's not like completely official yet. But I know that they added on at edge, and he's a guy that can play. He's 13 sacks in the last 2 seasons, coming from Denver, who's it's a solid defense, so he knows what it takes to be in a very good defense. But I'm with you, man. I think that adding. There might be an addition on the offensive line that we're waiting to hear about. There might be something like that. The other question I have for you, though, Ramon, is, we talk about cut day in the media, and I think fans talk about cut day like it's just nothing. Like it's just another day for us. It's a big news day. It's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But I think you were in a unique position to talk about this because you were a guy that was an undrafted free agent that was probably on that fringe that had some worries. Then you were a guy that had that solidified spot. Yeah. And then you were a guy that, you also probably your second, third year where, you're fighting for a position, you're going to make the roster, but, you're fighting for that starting spot. As a player, what is cut day? Take us through that, take us through that whole thing, the mental side of cut day for the players, for the locker room, for friends, that kind of stuff.
As you said, after first year, I didn't know what I didn't know. And the second year, I felt like I was in survival mode. Third year, man, I'll never forget. It's just like, all right, what's going to happen? And then the year I got tendered going into my fourth year, I was just like, they can really just cut me. Like, I got to perform. Like, every year I was nervous for cut day, except for the years I had re-signed. Any year after I signed the deal, so year 5, I re-signed. Okay, I was done there. Year, I think 9 or year 8, I end up re-signing again. And it was just, and then year 10, I did another one, and it was just like, goodness gracious. Like, you're never safe until you know you're on the active day roster day 1 on kickoff. Like, it was times, especially in my young career, I used to be on the bus on the way to the airport during the first week, because that Saturday doesn't really, the Saturday before the game at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock Eastern is when the roster's locked. And I used to be on the bus. I remember saying it, going to an away game, like, all right, I made it, because it's so much stress, man. I've seen guys get upset about it. I've seen guys break down and cry about it. I've seen guys think that they were safe. And then and then the Grim Reaper walks into the room, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I know this one ain't for me. You know what I'm saying? And then you see a guy, you're like, yeah, man, he's head down. And what's so wild about it, so many different other emotions. Some guys are ready to be cut. Some guys are like, all right, it's time for this next chapter. The writing on the wall. It's never easy. And I've also kind of just conditioned myself post-football to just be like, all right, life keeps moving. And you hate it for those dudes. You hate it for the situation, because a lot of guys today might not play football ever again, because next year's another recruiting class, and, they'll go find another free agent on another team, and you didn't play a lot in the preseason. So it's over and done with for you. It never sat easy for me. I never wanted to be around dudes on cut day, because I've seen guys I've walked with, man, what up? Because you're still teammates, right? Man, what up, man? Hope everything is cool. And then like 45 minutes later, you see their name on the waiver wire. Like they just got, it's an uneasy feeling, because it's like the biggest, literally, besides hitting the lotto, the biggest like job interview you can have, as far as going in, making that type of money that you get, like really legitimately changing the trajectory of your family life. If you get that opportunity, and not even just that, the opportunity just to keep playing, it gets shut down, and it's crushing. I personally haven't gone through that, but I've seen dudes. I've been in Niagara Falls on a family vacation with the guy on cut weekend that thought he was safe. Okay. And we're looking at the waterfall in Canada, and he gets a call at about 3 o'clock, and he's like, I got to roll. Lo and behold, he was cut. That's why I separated myself from guys. Like, that's the reality of, like, man, you just don't know sometimes. I didn't expect both Davis brothers, Carlos and Khalil, to get cut like that. Like, no, not or LeGlue.
Yeah. And it's, man, like to hear those stories, again, like fans and media, I think we do take it a little bit for granted, because it's just, it's a part of the NFL season. And it's a business. But there is a human side to all of this stuff. And to hear, the inside scoop on that, we're going to talk in the second segment more about what the implications are for the Steelers and the roster. But I think one of the things I appreciate about having you on this show and having this opportunity is, we get to see in the comment section, we always hear the day in the life or the week in the life of Ramon, of an NFL player. And I so appreciate the fact that you open that window up for us, and you kind of pull the curtain back. And like this is what real life in the NFL is. It's a lot of fun, but sometimes it is a business, and sometimes it stings.
Oh yeah, it does, man, and that's where it hits home for players, man. I'm always sympathetic to it. But again, this is the avenue in order for us to get to the regular season too. That's one thing I will say.
Yes, sir. And when we come back, we will talk about the roster implications for the Steelers and what some of these cuts mean. Maybe they'll add some more people. We'll see. So stick around. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. And in the first segment, we talked about cut day, and there's guys like we said, the Davis brothers, Mondo, LeGlue, guys that are were on the roster last year that we didn't expect to see have to take a hike, but they're gone. And in return, so far, the Steelers have made one trade. The reports are that it's Malik Reed and the Browns' 7th round pick of this next draft for the Steelers' 6th round pick of the coming draft. What do you think about that trade? I like it. I think it gives some depth on the edge. What do you think?
We talked about that a little bit too, man. Just considering, of course, on the outside edge, man, you got TJ Watt and you also have Alex Highsmith. And we were just also asking that question. Well, who's behind him? TJ got he had to grow on a little bit last year. Guys going to attack him differently because he is who he is now. By the way, I still thought number 6 overall was too low for him for the NFL 100. TJ should have been higher. Honestly, top 3 in my opinion, but that's just me though. But TJ, and then you also have, like I said, Highsmith. Like those two guys can't go the entire time, and just watching what they're going to be able to do and what's asked of them this entire season, there needed to be depth. We mentioned that a little bit not too long ago about, okay, I'm a little worried about that position as far as depth goes, and I'm actually happy they went and addressed it, man, and they ended up getting a real good pick out of it. I had his stat line pulled up earlier, man, but just in general, he's been a game starter. This guy gets after the quarterback. I looked at his Pro Football Reference and it shows he was more or less, he split time. He ended up having 5 sacks last year, playing 50% of the defensive snaps. Always available for the most part. Look like you get a guy that's not necessarily, this is the thing, not a burner at going to go get sacks. Like he's not Von Miller off the edge or anything like that. Honestly, reminds me a little bit more of Lamar Woodley type, a bigger body guy that's going to secure the edge. And if given that opportunity to go get after sacks, he is that dude. If you ended up pulling him up, he has, I think last year he ended up having 8 sacks. 2 years ago, he had 8 sacks. And last year ended up having 5 sacks, man. So I think it's good. You get a veteran guy, undrafted free agent, so relatively cheap. Again, he's going into his 4th year. And I think that's where they just uploaded him off the roster, considering he's probably due to get paid next year. And it's also dealing with the fact, too, that they signed Randy Gregory this offseason. I know that probably played a factor in, look, it's too many chefs in the kitchen. We got to give somebody out. You paired them up with Bradley Chubb. I thought this was a good deal for Pittsburgh to take over, considering the fact they ended up getting a draft pick along with that. And there's no promise of having to take on a franchise tag or 5th-year option or nothing like that. This is a cut and dry deal after this season. This kid can have the opportunity to become a free agent.
Yeah, and I like it from the standpoint, now you get a depth guy who we may see more of in the first and second week, depending on how bad this rib injury is for Alex Highsmith. So he may step right in and get some significant playing time. The other thing for me, though, is now you have a guy on the defensive line that's a depth guy, and Chris Wormley, who had 8 sacks last season. And you have a depth guy at edge who had 5 sacks last season, like you said, and 8 the year before. So you've got 2 depth guys now that know how to get after the quarterback. And that's what this defense loves to do, is get after the quarterback. They've led the NFL in sacks over the last 5 seasons. This is what they have built themselves on. And they have depth guys that are able to do that now.
They do.
I think it's a great move.
I think it's a really good move too, man. Out of left field for me, but again, up the other day about, okay, TJ and of course Alex, just like, okay, where are we getting depth from? And I'm glad we finally addressed that, man. Derek Tuska is a guy that you say, okay, yeah, I like what he is, but of course you need to be almost too deep at that situation, at that position. So it makes sense, and of course it's still a Browns draft pick. Hey, I'm all for that too, Eddie.
Hey, so now looking at the rest of the roster, all right, we've got, it looks like the Steelers are going to be running with, Jaylen Warren as the running back number 2, who, listen, balled out in preseason, balled out in training camp, but he's unproven in the regular season. You've got some question marks at the offensive line. Again, they seem to be comfortable enough to let go the glue, but I still think there's some questions there, and I know you do as well. I know DK feels the same way. So do you expect to see them add anything else before we hit Cincinnati?
I'd say no, because you look at the depth they have at tackle. They're veteran guys that have started and played in this league. Again, we don't know the quality until we see those guys with live bullets. As far as Joe Haig and Trent Scott goes, man, JC has played in games before. This young group, of course, that we speak of, from Dan Moore all the way over to Chuks Okorafor, man, they just simply got to grow. Hashing out this left guard position, Kevin Dotson, Kendrick Green, has to be something that is a focal point. You can't go into divisional ball at that spot lacking, man. And I'll throw this in there too. There's still one ace in the hole, and they're saying I don't know if they're playing poker, Eddie, or I'm just far and above what management is. But to say we're not trading Mason Rudolph, we're not getting rid of Mason Rudolph, I don't know if that's raising trade value, or it's just going to be a lot of upset people that Mason Rudolph is still on this roster. So shout out to my guy for surviving the first wave. And you know what? Either way, he's there. He's a Steeler. You got your starter. And we rock out that way when it comes to Mason and just the outfit of the quarterback room.
Here's my thing with that, and we can end the second segment on this. What's the most important position in sports?
QB.
You're always trying to have depth at quarterback, right?
Quality
depth at quarterback. We saw what it looks like when a young Mason Rudolph and Doc Hodges had to battle and scrap for every little bit that they got when Ben went down with the elbow injury. Isn't it nice to know that, man, if God forbid something happens to Mitch, we've got Kenny. The Steelers got Kenny, and they have their number 2 guy who's probably their franchise guy of the future.
Yes.
And God forbid you see 2 injuries, and it's happened in the NFL. I remember being in high school and college watching Dennis Dixon play. I remember, and no knock on Dennis Dixon, but he wasn't Ben Roethlisberger. I remember watching third-string guys play. Isn't it nice to know that if, God forbid, you got to your third-string quarterback, it's a dude that has played in the NFL, has had some success, whether people want to acknowledge that or not. I remember going to a Monday night game against Cincinnati and watching him go 28-32 and taking the Steelers to a win. I remember that Mason Rudolph. It's nice to know that you have that at third string, man.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, man. And again, shout out to the guys that made it, man, whether it's the first year or other undrafted guys, man. Gunnar Olszewski, man, huge shout out to him. Larry Ogunjobi coming back from this, man. And just in general, I love the fact that Marcus Allen is adjusting to the fact that he's a linebacker, not a safety or corner. James, I mean, just a bunch of guys, man. Shout out to doing the job in camp, man. And I'm super excited to see what this is going to look like.
Yes, sir. And with that, takes us to everyone's favorite segment.
Hey, Mon.
Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show. It's time for everybody's favorite segment. As DK says, the only one that matters, the Hey Mon segment. And we got a question from the website today. Mr. G's, the first comment on yesterday's show. It says Lil Foster, and I love that people are still calling you that, man. Lil Foster.
They do. Shout out to my older brothers, man.
I don't have the balls to call you Lil Foster, man. Lil Foster, I got a question for you. It says, if teams are going to attack Dan Moore's outside shoulder, shouldn't the tight end be utilized to help him more, even if it is obvious? That's a great question, man. That's
a great question.
Technical question.
Because me being a film guy, I always look at film and I always say, where are my weaknesses at? You know, and you got to be self-aware of that. And I think Dan Moore is too. With that being the case, as far as, you know, won't teams do it? Oh, they're going to try. I'm talking about 100 miles and running when it comes down to that. Like this will be something that he has to make go away. And I'm talking about fast too, man, simply because you can't be the reason why they shouldn't be able to go to that move every single time whenever it's a pass rush or something like that. And what he has to do as far as, you know, you asking if it's a tight end, no, don't rely on that. Simply because if we have some very dynamic tight ends, and if you have those guys inside blocking the entire time, there is nothing, it really handicaps the offense. With that being said, he has to go to film. He's got to go to a point to where he's making sure that he's taking those sets and being strong with his right hand. Yes, his right hand is so that he can control everything else from the left side. If I punch you inside out and move you, we're good. With the emphasis on don't drop that left foot, meaning we used to call it don't open up the gate. You know, the gate, that's the quickest path to the quarterback. Keeping the tight end in, I don't see those guys doing that. I don't see this offense operating like this. It's either fix it or we'll fix you. And you guys know what that means. Dan is very capable, man. This situation right here, as far as he goes, I just think he got 2 weeks to get right from this as far as correcting that. And I know Coach T is going to be all over when it comes to Malik Reed practicing. You know what's probably going to happen more than anything? Because guess what? If you go look at the 2021 film, Malik Reed got a sack off of him with that same move, okay? And practice the first week for the new prove it guy. Malik Reed is you get him. And that's what it's going to be one-on-one reps for him, not just banging hats after banging hats, but it will be, look, this is a guy that's going against you. Like, he understands where your deficiencies are and work them. Dan has to find a way to clean that up, man. We can't go through the season this way, having tight ends in the offense if it's not a long play action play. Like, running backs can come out of the backfield and chip them. But then you start giving up the inside. Like, you create other problems when you try to fix this problem too much.
Right. And we've seen how Matt Canada wants to use the tight ends.
Yep.
In 3 preseason games, we've seen it. Dale brought up a good point in Matt Canada's press conference today.
Yeah.
That Pat Freiermuth averaged 16 yards per catch in the preseason. That's up from 8 yards per catch last season. Now, again, that's preseason. There's a lot of different factors there. But you can see how the Steelers want to utilize their tight end.
Yes.
Now, if you're constantly asking your tight end to chip and help the tackle, you take away that extra, that half a second that he needs to maybe break free. There's all kinds of things. There's ripple effects in the offense. I'm going to put the rose-colored glasses on, though, for a quick second.
Okay, let's hear it.
All last year, watching Dan Moore in training camp as a rookie, and then watching him in practices last year, getting a chance to be around the team, and then this year in training camp watching him. The one thing that I will say about Dan Moore that you cannot take away from this young man is that he is a hard worker.
Yeah.
The man works his tail off. And if there's anybody on that offensive line that's going to see a deficiency in his game and do everything in his power to fix it, it's Dan Moore Jr.
It's him.
And that is why I'm holding out some hope about this tackle position, because I think Dan Moore can fix it in these couple weeks. And it may take a week or two into the regular season too. But again, as long as it doesn't take all 17 weeks to figure it out, I think they'll be okay.
It's getting hot, man. It's getting very hot for him. And this is what you're up against week 1, too. Sam Hubbard, who I respect, hell of a player. Okay. Trey Hendrickson is another guy that's out there too. And they also have Joseph Assad in Cincinnati too. That defense is solid across the edge. And you know this too. They always have been. Sam Hubbard is a go harder. Trey Hendrickson, double-digit sack getter. Okay. This ain't no easy feat. And they're heavy body guys. Dan got to get out of his head for a little while and say, screw it. I'm taking the fight to you, so see me every single play. That's the approach we're taking right now with this problem that Dan kind of has right now.
Right. It's going to be fun to watch, man. We've got 2 weeks until the regular season. We've got, Cincinnati's coming up, but they've, like you said, they've got time to fix things. With that said, I think that wraps up the Ramon show for today. Want to do another one tomorrow?
Man, absolutely. And again, congratulations to everybody that made the 53,
absolutely.
Man. And for the most part, making it out of camp healthy. Heck yes. Here we go.
Healthy's the big one. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care.